Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on an old one, but a good one. It's the Penn 930 Levelmatic ball bearing reel. This is Penn's first attempt at a round bait caster. This one's a little sluggish. These were sent in by Paul. He sent me a couple of these, asked me to tune them up. These reels were very popular when they were first released. They're still very nice reels today, but quite honestly I prefer the Abu Ambassador over this one. But these were meant to compete with them, and they're very solid reels operationally, and they'll last a long time if you keep them serviced. Well, we're going to start by removing the exterior pieces and parts, and as we do that I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the art of fishing reel repair, if you like to see how reels are made, how they come apart, how they get serviced and put back to good use. Well, this is a channel for you, and I heartily recommend that you subscribe. If you do, please go ahead and use that notification button to let you know when I'm posting, and you can make a choice as to whether that's a video you want to see. I post on all kinds of fishing reels. This one is a classic round bait caster from Penn. Tomorrow's may be a modern day spinning reel, and followed by a bass reel or something. So all of those show up, and you can make your choice, and overall you can learn a lot about fishing reels, the manufacturers, and how they're used and so on from this channel. Well, I just took off the handle nut, the handle, and the star adjuster in that order, and this is an interesting one. One of our viewers actually went and did a printer, what do you call that one when the print cuts it out, CNC kind of a cut, and he extended with the basic Penn wrench to make it more manageable for these model reels. So thank you again, and I have to apologize. It's been a while since that was sent to me, and I've forgotten the individual's name, but regardless, I haven't forgotten the gesture. It's a very nice reel tool, and I'm so happy that he was able to do that for me. Well, we're going to take the 3 side plate screws off now. That'll give us access to the side plate. And this reel's been running a little sluggish, so we're going to try and figure out why that is. We'll do a complete take apart and service, and then we'll put it back together again. Well, those of you that may have been noticing in the background, I've taken the screws out, and 2 of these screws are one size, and then we have a very long one there. And this is where I tell you it's a good opportunity to take pictures along the way, because taking the pictures will tell you where the pieces and parts came from if you get confused. I've worked on enough of these reels to know that the long screw belongs in the bottom reel seat, but sometimes it can become a head scratcher if you don't know that, and pictures is a great way to learn that. With those 3 screws removed, we can remove the side plate now. We should be able to remove this. There we go. It's probably a reason why this is a little sticky here. It's probably been a little bit of time since it's been serviced. You can see that there's a film in that in here. There are 2 little brake tubes that are on this spool. When you go to remove the spool, make sure you don't lose those pieces. We'll take those off. And we can probably see why it's so sluggish. There's just a lot of dirt and built up grease and grime and the like in there. And so we're going to have to do the other side as well. And we will kind of start with that. It doesn't matter where you start. You can see on this one why it was a little stuck. There's a lot of sand and debris and the like inside the case here. That was probably causing it to seal like it did. All right, let's use a flat-bladed screwdriver to take this side off. I want to get to that piece with the idler gear. There seemed to be a lot of grease and debris on there, and dirt and the like, that is probably slowing this thing down. Okay, that should be it. There's another screw in that case, but that other screw holds the... Alright, yeah, this is always fun. Kind of set this to the high point, and you can pull it up and rotate it over without disturbing your clutch mechanism. This one's got a lot of dirt around there. As I mentioned, it's kind of sluggish, And it looks like old grease or something around that worm gear drive, so I'm going to use some penetrating oil. Just let that lay there for a moment. And now we have the other screw. I'm going to take these and put these into a parts tray before I lose them. Now we can take that idler gear off with this screw. If you took it off before, no problem, but you may have had a floating idler gear in there. This reel gets my vote for the most difficult screws. And thank goodness Dick sent me a little screw holder. That's right up there with the other piece. Alright, there's just a lot of old dirt and grease in this one. That's what we're trying to get off now, because without getting that off, we're going to have a little bit of difficulty cleaning in behind it. I'll just try and push it through that way. Okay, just keep trying. There you go. And it will eventually pull off. This was kind of grease sealed. You can see the issue. And that always causes sluggishness when you get all that kind of dirt and debris in the case. I'm going to use a penetrating oil, let that sit on the side there for a moment. Same thing on the idler gear here. Don't want to lose that screw. We'll put that in our tray as well. Alright, we can come back now and let's do a cleanup on this piece that's been sitting with the grease on it. We're going to put the idler gear back in there, so let's get the old dirt and grease off. You do not need to remove the worm gear, but you do need to clean around it. One of the best things I find in cleaning around it is these little picks and the like. If you needed to remove the worm gear, there is a C-clip. It's right here, and that will help you with that. Okay, let's take the opportunity here to clean the inside of this frame. I'm going to do that. I'm going to use a Penn rod and reel cleaner. It's a nice cleaner that doesn't require a lot of effort to get the film and the like that's often stuck on there from seawater and the like. And I'm not using it because it's a Penn reel that I'm working on. I'm using it because it's a nice cleaner. It will work on pretty much all reels. Alright, well, that works that up a little bit nicer. And while I'm doing this, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck or something, just leave the question in the comments section. It doesn't have to be on this particular reel, but if you leave the question, I do try to answer those. And if I can help you, I certainly will try to do that for you. Okay, that's set. I'm going to turn the wheel now because we want to make sure it's running nicely. We're going to move this over so that we can service the pawl. To service the pawl, you remove the screw cap that's holding the pawl. That rides in the carrier. And this is probably another reason why it's performing sluggishly. You can see that there's all kinds of dirt and debris on the pawl. So you want to just take a paper towel or something, clean that off. If that pawl doesn't rotate easily inside the cap, you're going to have an issue with line drag. Clean the shoulders off on the pawl, check the two sides of the forks. Put a little drop of oil back into the carrier so that it's nice and lubed up. Please use fishing reel oil when you're doing the services. Again, I don't really care whose. I like the Penn Precision Reel Oil. I also like Reel X. I like Lucas oils. They're all fine, but again, just make sure that it's a fishing reel oil that you're using. Start your cap again. Hand thread it, because if you don't hand thread it, you risk cross threading If you cross thread, it's a big problem. Okay, once you've started that, go ahead and use a screwdriver. And this is where you need to kind of play around with this thing, because the forks may or may not be in the worm drive track. So just kind of alternately work on tightening this screw. And working the line guide, make sure that you're on track or in track before you tighten it all the way down. If you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to bend those forks on the piece. And then you'll see all of a sudden it'll just let up, and you know you pretty much have it at that point. As long as we're on this servicing there, let's go ahead and put some oil onto the worm gear. Okay, we're in good condition with that. This has had time to soak now, so we can go ahead and clean all of that old grease and grime and the like on the back of this off. The number one failure with reels, or number one reason why reels need to be serviced, is the dirt and debris that gets in them. Alright, we have a little washer here that's going to go on that screw, so let's hold that out for a moment. Same thing here, we want to clean that all off where it's gotten gummed up. We saw the result on the other one, the one that it meshes with. And if you like, use a wire brush. That's always a good way to knock out the greases. Okay, so let's grab that screw that we put off to the side. That comes through. There's a little washer that goes on the screw, don't miss that. And we can put our worm drive on. And we can put the centering piece that the screw is going to go into to tie that down. And again, like the other piece, get it started. Okay, once you've cleaned down the assembly, it's time to reinstall. Make sure you have that little post clip that goes in there. Center that over the hole on the side of the case. And then you can start to screw. And I'm going to use this screwdriver that is one of those kind of compression ones. It's got a split blade that helps you to hold it. This is courtesy of Dick in Pennsylvania, and I appreciate that he took the time to send that to me, and makes all the difference in the world. Now you can see that it turns nice and easy. And what we want to do next is make sure that the bearing on this side here gets some oil. With that done, we can go ahead and put that side plate back on. Same thing here, load this kind of to the high point, and you have to bring it in over the top, hook it and bring it down. Then you can line these up with the studs for your side plate screws. Back into your box then and get the 3 screws. Remember, there's 2 shorts and a long. I'll put the long one in first. That one I can handle usually. I'll probably use the screw holder for the others, but I want to make sure that I get this side plate secured where I can take the pressure off from my hand clamping it. And then we'll go over and use the screw starter for the others. Some folks have asked what this tool is. It's a Vaco number 20K23. I think it's actually a Klein tool. I could be wrong there, but it's a value if you have trouble like me in doing these small starter screws. Particularly the ones on the other side. We haven't got there yet, but those are problems for me. Okay, those are all on. That side is done. The pawl is done. So now we just need to focus our attention on gear side. Okay, that looks a whole lot better than it did when we started. This is the spool. Again, remember you got two little hose-like breaks there. Just take care of them. Take care that you don't lose them. A little bit of grease onto the drive of the spool. Okay, once you finish up the frame, we can put the spool back in. I like to put a rubber band around the line when I go to reassemble because, well, you can see right there what's going to happen. That line tends to get trapped. Actually, I like to take the line off when servicing reels. I'm going to leave that to the owner, but you should replace the line, particularly if it's monofilament, when you have your reel serviced, because the old line will be just as much of a reason for the losing fish as poorly serviced reels. Okay, let's turn our attention then to the gear side. There's 4 screws that hold these on. Let's take those out. This has got a rather unusual bridge assembly. The bridge assembly has got a lot of pressed pieces on here. A lot of people think that the yoke can come off, for example. It doesn't. The yoke, the springs, and the trick ratchet all are pressed onto the bridge assembly. It comes as a single piece. Alright, there's 4 of these, and then we'll push that piece through, and then we'll be able to service the gear assembly. Alright, push this through. That will remove the assembly. And again, you can see we got a lot of dirt inside here, so we'll do the same thing that we did on the other side. We'll just use penetrating oil as a cleaning agent. I use penetrating oil to loosen. This will float, so you can move that around to get the old greases out. And there's a lot of saltwater debris and the like in here that we want to get off to the best that we can. Alright, that cleaned up nicely. Wipe it down with the paper towel. And we can set that aside. This is a Teflon piece you don't need to do anything with. If you like, you can put a drop of oil onto the cam for the free spool release. That's about it. Next up then, we can remove the main gear assembly. I believe these use a special washer. It could be that these, looks like these have been replaced with a 60s, probably because of the nature of the washer. Okay, what I like to do is replace remove the gear sleeve so that I can service underneath. To do that, you want to poke a pin through. I use an awl to do that. Once you poke that pin through, go ahead and just use the pliers to walk it out. Lay that out there. And then we can pull up on the gear sleeve so that we can get the dirt and debris underneath. Just going to get that started back there so I don't lose the pin. Okay, this is what I was referring to before. These pieces are on the bridge. This trip assembly, the yoke, the springs, the tie down, and the anti-reverse are all there. If you needed to service the anti-reverse, there is a screw that you can remove that on. The other pieces you can't remove. I'm just going to wipe that off. That seems to be working fine. Clean up the debris throughout. You can see that the yoke has come, the jack has come off of the yoke. What you want to do in that case, come around to the back, push the pinion gear up or pull it up to reseat this. We'll do that, show you how to do it completely. But again, the other pieces are pretty much on there. For whatever reason, Penn decided to press them all on. All right, I'm going to use a brush to clean off the tracks of the pinion gear. And now we can relube that and reinstall the jack. I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel Grease for the gears. And here's again how you want to do that. Some people struggle with this. Just pull up on your yoke by pulling out on the main, the pinion gear. Just slide this underneath. When you come over here, that needs to go inside the elbow here. So pull this down. And that essentially is resetting the jack and yoke system. So that's what it should look like when you're done reset. That crook of the one arm that's extended on the jack needs to be inside the elbow here on the trip lever. These two studs are what's going to trip that to push this back when you're done. Okay, we can grab our grease brush and put a little bit of grease onto the shaft after we've cleaned that. We can go ahead and put the gear sleeve back on now. And when you do that, your anti-reverse dog may get trapped underneath. Just pull it off to the side so that you can make sure that it's all the way down. And then you want to push that pin back in. And sometimes you need an assist. I generally need an assist. I'll use a channel lock pliers to pull it in and reset that. Okay, looks like these washers have been replaced. That's all good. I would expect they probably have been, given the age of the reel. And actually what I think we have here is possibly a back version of this. This one looks like the bigger. Well, I think they're both the same. Alright, inspect the teeth on the main gear. If they've got dirt in them, go right back to that brush that you were using for the run. Just pull it all the way through to get rid of the old greases. Wipe the bottom, make sure you have a clean gear underneath. Go ahead and grab your grease brush. Grease the teeth of the main. This looks like the gear for a 60 size Penn Long Beach, but internally the washers are different. I believe they use a washer that's just made for this series of reels. You have a 6 washer set. Yeah, this is one of the original ones. Interesting. Oh. All right, there's 2 that are keyed washers. Those will go top and bottom. So after you put a drag washer in your main gear, go ahead and put one of the keyed washers on. I put the second one on now. Then goes the eared washer in the middle. That fits into the slots of the main gear. This one is a leather one. We're going to leave it, but we are going to make sure that we put some grease on there that makes it more flexible. Put the top one on. Then there's 2 tension washers that go on. And that's essentially your setup for your bridge. Okay, once you go to install now, you want to make sure you have your bridge assembly. Watch it, these things tend to pop out every now and then, so just be careful with them. They kind of work side by side. Set your plastic carrier for your trip mechanism to approximately where the screws are going to be. Bring this in, And then you're aligning two pieces. You're aligning the top screw, or the eccentric post, and the plastic post on the carrier. Once you've done that, you can flip the reel over now. And now you need to align the holes to accept the screws. I'm going to use my screw starter here. Again, this is one of those where I just say this is probably the toughest screws for me of most reels. Just because there isn't a lot of working area. I'm not going to tighten these all the way down. I'm going to snug them up until I get all four in. That's one. This will be two. And again, I'm keeping them loose. And then what you need to do is you need to make sure that those plastic carriers fit in. And you know that because you'll feel a little bit of a snap. And once you feel that snap that's securing that into that hole, then you know you pretty much have got it. Just whatever you do, take your time. You don't get points for racing through something. If you need to, use a little pick. That'll help you align it. And then you'll feel where it's caught. Don't force anything. It'll probably cause a little bit of damage there. All right, I think we got it now. Maybe not. Now we got it. All right, now that all are in place and started, we can go back and tighten all of them. And we'll just finish up on the assembly. So we've done an awful lot so far. We've showed you the mechanics of the reel, how to take it apart. That included taking the idler gear off to clear behind that on the non-gear side. Showed you how to clean the pawl. Now we showed you how to service the bridge, and boy, doesn't that look a lot different than what it was just a little while ago. To complete the bridge assembly, you're going to put the collar on, and you're going to put the star adjuster on. All right, testing the memory now because it's been quite some time. We're going to put a little bit of grease onto the shaft. Make sure you have your two brakes pushed in. That's because they're going to go inside this ring, and if they're hanging out, they're going to get trapped in the ring. Locate your posts, and then just bring that in so that they mesh for the screws. I like to start with the long screw because that's the one I can kind of control here. And we'll just do the same thing. We'll tighten that up. And then we can come back with the two others. These are kind of thumb screws or finger screws. They have the serrated edge on the side of them, so they're generally easier to get started. Once you get started, finish it with your screwdriver. And then we got one more. Okay, with that done, we can tighten everything up here, put our handle back on. Now, if you didn't take that gear sleeve off, you could put some oil in there, and you can certainly put oil in there on the in-between services. I recommend that the wheels get serviced on an annual basis, not because I do reel service, I just think it's a good thing to do. And particularly if you're fishing hard and heavy, something you want to do. And again, change the monofilament line on an annual basis. It just doesn't make sense to try and get that line going more than one season. You're going to find out that there's a lot of opportunities for it to break because of UV damage, because of stretch in the line, and so on. It just makes sense to go ahead and replace it. It's not expensive. All right, that's back on. And I did hear a little bit of squeakiness in that knob when I tested, so we'll just put a little bit of W40 in there and let it sit in. All right, let's give it a test now, see how we did. Well, it's certainly running nice and smooth and easy. It's not a drag like it was. Let's bring that back. We're in casting mode. You have the option on two sides in terms of adjusting. You can adjust that also to get the right side of your spool, and this should kick back. There you go, kicks back on the release. So you have free spool release. Loosen that up a little bit for casting, you can, and then it'll kick back in to drive, and then just check your drags, make sure that they're nice and tight and holding. They are, and then back them off when you're done. If you don't back the drags off, it's sort of like holding a piece of wood in a vise. It's going to clamp it down, and it's going to squeeze out it's going to squeeze them together and kind of force them to get caught in there. So that's it. That's your Penn 930 Levelmatic fishing reel, and how to take it apart, service it, and make sure it has plenty of life left. Before we leave, I want to take an opportunity to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody who's been involved in keeping us safe. To everybody, I wish you great fishing. Let's get ready for the spring runs. Get your reels serviced and take care of them so that they will take care of you. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.